Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Yep. Um, Let me just apologize for a late start. As you can see, the weather outside has delayed your compatriots from getting here at 6, but we're about to begin. We're just waiting on Minister Johnson Smith to come down from upstairs, and then we will get started. All right, good evening again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Diaspora Conversations. This evening, we have in our midst our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Senator the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith, who will be taking the lead this evening in answering some of those pressing questions in a conversation with you. As you know, Minister Johnson Smith is very keen on connecting with our diaspora, and she asked for this presentation. And it just so happens that as she asked for the conversations, Minister Hill's delegation was also going to be in town. So we also incorporated Minister Hill in this evening's presentation. So without much delay, I'll now ask you to stand for the playing of the national anthem of Jamaica.
Eternal Father, bless the lands. Guide us with thy mighty hand. Keep us free from evil powers. Be our light through countless stars. To our leaders, great defender, grant true wisdom from above. Justice, truth be ours forever. Jamaica, land we love. Jamaica, 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 land we love. Teach us true respect for all, stern response to duty's call. Strengthen us the weak to cherish, give us vision lest we perish. Knowledge send us, heavenly Father, grant true wisdom from above. Justice, truth be ours forever. Jamaica, land we love. Jamaica, 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 land we love.
I'll ask you to remain standing as I invite Reverend Edward Richard Hines to the podium to do the invocation.
Good evening. As we engage in conversation this evening, let us first have a conversation with God. Will you bow your heads? God, we come before you this evening. This is the day that you have made, and we choose to rejoice and be glad in it. We are grateful to you as we gather here for this Jamaica Diaspora conversation here in the heart of New York City. We thank you, God, for the opportunity to unite as a community as we bridge the miles that separate us from our beloved home country, Jamaica. We lift up in prayer right now our honored guests, Minister Orbin Hill and Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith, who serve our nation with dedication and grace. I ask that for your wisdom and guidance to be with them as they continue to do that which you have called them to do for such a time as this. Father, we pray that our deliberations this evening may be fruitful. We ask God that as we have conversation, as we speak, and as we look about our beloved home country, Jamaica, that we ask for your blessings upon our community. Will you also bless Jamaica land we love? For this is indeed our home. We ask God finally that you will even give grace and bless our Consul General, who's here leading and hosting this meeting, and for his entire staff. We pray for your grace to be upon this meeting, that it be a stepping stone toward a brighter future for that which we love, Jamaica land we love. So we ask for your blessings now. We ask for your continued grace as we give you thanks. And I ask this in no other name, in the name of Jesus. We say amen. Yeah.
You may be seated. All right, before we move into the formal program, I'd like to invite Mr. Peart and the team from the Jamaica Ex-Soldiers Association, and Consul General, I'll also ask you to come forward as well. Mr. Peart called this morning. They recently had their gala, and unfortunately, one of their key organizers got terribly ill and is still in the hospital. And they asked if they could make the presentation to CG that was supposed to have been done at the gala. And so, Mr. Peart, over to you.
Honorable Ministers, Madam CG, Mr. Ambassador, all other protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen, on Saturday, September 16th, the Consul General was kind enough to allow the Jamaica Ex-Soldiers Association to host our 13th annual fundraiser event at the Antons Ballroom. So much to say, the evening before that, one of our key members, Mr. Wilton Wood, suffered a massive stroke, and he has been hospitalized to this time. Madam CG, I'm happy to report that as of yesterday, he was taken off the vent and he's breathing on his own. However, from what I understand, there is a shunt that was placed in his brain to relieve the bleeding, and there is some level of danger in the removal of that. So we are prayerful and we are hopeful for the best. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Wood was instrumental in procuring the awards that was presented by the Consul General that particular evening to our awardees. And in the same breath, he was also instrumental in securing a token of our deepest appreciation to the Consul General, except to say that because he had lost the ability to speak due to his sudden illness, I wasn't sure where it was, and needless to say, it was still at the store. So I went there on Friday, and I took care of it. And this evening, about 2-3 o'clock, I went and I picked it up, and here we are. And so, Madam CG, on behalf of the board, the members, I take this great opportunity in presenting you with this small token of our deepest appreciation for your kindness. I thank you. I thank you. In the same breath, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce our esteemed MC, we had a designee, and 2 days prior, I got a call that there was some kind of emergency which prevented her from attending and playing that role, thus throwing myself into a little bit of chaos. But I must say that when you're a believer, you know, things miraculously happen. And Miss Donna Brown from this office was in attendance. And when I saw her, I explained to her what was happening, and she hit the ground running, thus preventing what could have been somewhat of a catastrophe. And so at this time, I should like to also show her our appreciation. I invite Ms. Donna Brown to the podium. Ms. Brown, I know this comes as a bit of a surprise, but on behalf of the board also and our membership, I should like to use this opportunity to say thank you for your kindness. Madam CG, I thank you for allowing me to source her as a savior. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right. So as we proceed with the program, CG is on the program to do the welcome, and so she's also down to do all the protocols. But I would like just to recognize Ambassador Brian Wallace, permanent representative of Jamaica to the United Nations, and also Mr. Christopher Chaplin, our honorary consul in Philadelphia, who are also here. Minister Hill was recognized earlier, but again, Minister Hill, thank you so much for being here. And in that breath, I would like to now invite to the podium, she's looking at me, but I'd like to invite Ms. Shulette Cox, who is going to introduce our next presenter, the Honorable. You're looking at me, Ms. Cox. Yes, you know it's your duty. So she's going to introduce Senator the Honorable Aubin Hill, our Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce, who is going to bring greetings this evening.
Thank you very much, Chris. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here and to see our diaspora in New York. A very welcome to our ministers, Senator the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith and Senator the Honorable Aubin Hill and all the other representatives of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. So to introduce my minister, Minister Aubin Hill is the Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce in the government of Jamaica, but he is well known to us as the business minister. He has over 35 years of working experience in the private sector. As an international banker, however, he has lived and worked in 9 countries and done business in over 125. With an MBA from the Harvard Business School, Minister Hill spent 21 years as a banker in the Middle East. And starting in 2002, he also led the management team at Jamaica's largest commercial bank, National Commercial Bank Jamaica Limited. After the Most Honorable Andrew Holness was returned as Prime Minister in 2020, he invited Senator Aubin Hill to join his cabinet in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. On January 11th, 2022, Prime Minister Holness reshuffled the cabinet and appointed Minister Hill as the Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce. He has responsibility for 20 agencies that are all geared towards facilitating and growing business in Jamaica. The minister has a firm interest in facilitating, enabling, and encouraging small and large Jamaican businesses to grow and, more importantly, be profitable. His focus is on growing exports exponentially and securing greater local and foreign direct investments into the Jamaican economy. This week, ministers actually led a delegation of 38 Jamaican companies to New York. We arrived yesterday, and tomorrow we move on to London. And the objective of that mission is to expose our business people to opportunities in overseas markets. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to help me welcome our champion for business in Jamaica, Senator the Honorable Aubin Hill. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shulette. Um, my colleague, our wonderful foreign minister, Senator the Honorable Kamina Johnson Smith. And I'm just very, very happy. I know Hugh Shearer was the doyen of our foreign ministry. But could we ever have a better foreign minister at this time than Kamina Johnson Smith? She is just, she makes Jamaica rock. She really is good. CG, thank you so much for your hospitality and your graciousness. Ambassador, for the role that you play. Consul General, you were so kind and gracious to the Prime Minister and myself when we were in your city a couple of years ago. To all my Jamaican compatriots, to see you here, the business community that have traveled with me, and I don't travel anywhere except I had to go see my daughter recently, so that was private. Everywhere else I go, I take businessmen and women with me. Took as many as 73 to Guyana in my second trip there, another 40 to Domrep, because as the Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce, which we have sort of redubbed, only one man can name a minister in Jamaica, and that's the Prime Minister. But I have unofficial naming rights, so we name it Jamaica's Business Ministry. The reason why I take these teams with me, because you cannot stay in Jamaica and get good markets and get markets. And we have, you probably know, taken our debt to GDP and grabbed it around the waist and the neck and have it somewhat under control. We can't let it loose because it will slip. But many do not know the kind of long perennial negative trade balances that we've had. So that's the next challenge that we're taking on. And I'm telling everybody in Jamaica and around the world that you cannot get rich just selling to our small population. Israel couldn't do it. Singapore couldn't do it. Liechtenstein can't do it. Jamaica won't do it. We must take on the world. We must take on the world markets and beat them. And we have, hey, I see somebody from Domrep here, my good friend, my daughter's good friend, Pam. Good to see you, Pam. I have to, if I don't acknowledge her, she goes in the family chat and says things about me. So, I think Judge Moore is here. She'll be here shortly. But thank you all for coming out. Minister Johnson Smith, of course, will speak to you more extensively. We will answer questions. Some of them will be about investments and the economy. I'm just very happy to see so many Jamaicans and understand that, you know, if I say we can't do it with 3 million Jamaicans, we are depending on those 3 million Jamaicans overseas, but we're really depending on that 1 million of you here in the US. I'm happy to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Hill. So before I move on, I would like to also introduce and recognize Ambassador Angela Comfort, Under Secretary for First Multilateral Affairs Division at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Welcome, Ambassador. All right. All right, as we move quickly along, I'd like to now invite the gentleman who is, you would say, the man of the moment. Sorry, I have moved a little bit too quickly. Let's dial it back a little bit. So we're going to invite to the podium the lady who is the woman of the moment. CG, I'm so sorry I skipped all the way over you. I guess it was allowing you to have a little moment from your surprise presentation. But I'd like to invite CG to the podium and she will do the welcome.
I certainly hope you weren't drinking another rum punch or salt. That's perfect. Thank you so much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Senator, the Honorable Kamina Johnson Smith, our star Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Welcome to New York once again. And of course, Senator, the Honorable Auburn Hill, good to see you again. Our fantastic ambassador, Ambassador Wallace, welcome. And of course, Ambassador Comfort, welcome. And our honorary consul in Philadelphia, Chris Chaplin. You know, if Chris could drive in the rain, Minister, to come here all the way from Philadelphia. Chris, you are the man. Welcome. And of course, our dear President of JAMPO, Mrs. Gillette Cox, welcome. Welcome, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Consulate General of Jamaica in New York. Of course, I would like to begin by expressing my profound gratitude to each and every one of you who has joined us both in person here tonight and, of course, online. Your presence here is a testament to the enduring bonds that connect us as members of the Jamaican diaspora. Please permit me to extend my heartfelt thanks to Minister Johnson Smith and, of course, to Minister Auburn Hill for being here with us this evening. I think we should give them a round of applause. As we embarked on this important discussion tonight, dubbed Diaspora Conversations, I would like to emphasize the profound significance it holds, not only for our diaspora community, but of course also for the broader missions of Jamaica's commitment to its diaspora members. Here at the Consulate General of Jamaica, New York, we are committed to your well-being and to championing growth, economic growth to our nation. I, for one, Minister Hill, I think is holding on to a little secret, but I, for one, am extremely delighted by the positive report that Jamaica recently received from Standard & Poor's. Wait. Did you guys hear? You guys heard the fantastic report from S&P? No. Minister, Jamaica received a positive rating from B, right, Minister Hill, to BB minus. From B plus to BB minus. And I believe this is the best that we have received since S&P started rating us in 1999. 24 years. As I would like to say, we are a big, big deal. Listen, believe it or not, I just heard that Moody's actually placed the US on a negative credit watch. Right, Minister? So guess what? It looked like we're not asleep. Guess what? The US better come ask us in Jamaica how to do this thing right. We are not playing. Our industry in Jamaica, as it relates to investment, is on the move. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as Jamaicans, and even the friends of Jamaica that is present here tonight, you ought to be very proud of yourselves. I would like to ensure that we continue, and we're going to work tirelessly in the diaspora, that we continue on this path. I implore you to please ask your questions. Minister Johnson Smith, Minister Hill, and even our good Ambassador Wallace is here ready to answer all your questions. Make sure that you are ready to move back to Jamaica. And no, Minister will tell you, don't wait until it's too late. Ladies and gentlemen, please do not wait until it's too late. They are here to give you dynamic information, and please ask your questions tonight. To my staff, the hardest working team, anywhere north of this state, thank you for the work that you are doing, that you continue to do here in our consulate. Mr. Christopher Benjamin, thank you so much. And of course, Mr. Marlon Lindsay, minister, traveled all the way from Utah. I'm not sure why Jamaicans are all the way, but that's all the way from Utah. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome again to the Consul General of Jamaica in New York.
Thank you so much, CG. And again, everything happens for a reason. I think you were supposed to speak at that moment. I do believe so. Yes, sir. So at this moment, I'd like to invite to the podium Ambassador Brian Wallace, permanent representative of Jamaica to the United Nations. And as you know, Ambassador Wallace is the man of the moment where Jamaica is concerned at this point, because the UN General Assembly is in session. They're on break today, but they resume tomorrow. And I'm sure Ambassador Wallace didn't get a break today. But nonetheless, he will come to the podium to introduce our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador.
Well, you are right. We got no rest today, but neither did my minister. And, my task here tonight is the easiest thing I will ever do as your ambassador to the UN. Because, and many of you who are here know, who have been at diaspora events before, at which I have had the privilege of addressing you, would have heard me say this. Jamaica has a lot to be proud of, a whole lot. One of the things that we can be justly proud of is our leadership. Jamaica's record, our reputation globally is phenomenal for a small country. It is phenomenal even if you compare us to big countries. This did not happen just so. This happened because we have had inspired, principled, hardworking leadership. I have had the pleasure, the privilege over these last 2 years of working under the leadership of Senator, the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith. And let me tell you, Jamaica has a rock star foreign minister. Yes. Wherever we go, I am dying to go home, and the people won't leave her alone. Pictures, autographs, questions, inspiration. It is because of who she is. It is because her dedication to Jamaica shines through a sparkling personality, an amazing intellect, and an ability to articulate what is best for Jamaica. Allow me. I don't often get to do this, so let me do this. Because it's true. Look, we spend a lot of time criticizing. We are very hard on ourselves as Jamaicans because we want so much so quickly. But when we have among us people like our ministers who dedicate themselves and their efforts to doing so much good for Jamaica, we must also take the moment to appreciate it and to recognize what we have. And I know she's not going to disappoint when she comes before you tonight. I must say to you, for those who are interested, Jamaica delivers our policy statement at the General Assembly tomorrow. And so we still have work to do even after this engagement here tonight to polish our statement that Minister will deliver in the General Assembly. And so those of you who can attend, please do. And those of you who can watch it on web TV, please do as well. Without more, let me introduce you and ask you to welcome Senator, the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith.
Ambassador, thank you so much. That was very kind of you. Very, very, very generous, and I appreciate it. I am blessed, ladies and gentlemen, with an amazing team, and I certainly don't ask for that kind of introduction. In fact, if you know me, I'm generous. Let's keep it short. Let's keep it short. Let's keep it tight. But I very much appreciate it. We've been working very hard since I've come, and I must say I've been deeply appreciative of the fact that Ambassador is strongly and widely respected across the UN system, and this helps so much in the work that we do. So I'm not going to start a long mutual admiration society process here tonight, but to say thank you for all the work that you also do here. It is deeply appreciated and highly valued by the government and certainly by your colleagues, as they have shared with me. And that being said, my colleague, Senator Auburn Hill, so pleased to have you here with me. He will take all of the tough questions. Ambassador Wallace, of course, Honorary Consul, and of course, our Consul General. Now, I am going to ask you to give me a little room, because one thing that I have not done and I have wanted to do is to sing a little praises of this lady here. So I want you to give me a little room in my greeting today, because, and a few things have happened recently that have made me feel moved to do this this evening, including the presentation a while ago. You said, thank you for that little surprise, because literally, I do not think we have a representative at this time who has touched as many lives in Jamaica as Consul General Alcyon Wilson. She engages with everybody here, and it's amazing how she has brought in so many people in the community who haven't felt the desire to engage before. People driving from Utah. I mean, come on. And it's not for the rum punch. Let's be clear. But it goes beyond her personality and the fact that she is literally indefatigable. I mean, she calls me at crazy hours, and I'm like, CG, it's sleep time now. Are you getting rest? Because I really need rest. But she does not stop. And she builds on a foundation which has a huge experiential base in the financial sector, in the business sector, which makes her a phenomenal networker. And this is hugely important for Jamaica, networking is not a skill that comes easily to everyone. And when you find a head of mission who has not only the experience, but a natural skill and a natural affability that draws people to her and allows the business people to not be able to say no. When she asks, it is wonderful. We have great results, like special rates for tablets being sent during COVID that allow us to maximize taxpayers' dollars to provide online education for children who are closed out of school, like free shipping from members of our diaspora who again allow us to maximize taxpayers' dollars, like incredible opportunities for scholarships for young people here or in Jamaica to come and study here, like, and the list is not short, folks. She has the biggest heart. Literally, there is no baby, no senior woman, no one with a health problem that she has not reached out to see if she can find someone who will assist. This has been from, I know some of you know about the popularized or the publicized circumstances like Adriana, who was a burn victim, who came up to have her 26 surgeries. Little Jermaine, who needed a pacemaker. But so many more whose stories are never told. Once she's aware of it, she reaches out and tries to find a way to help. And never asks for a thank you, never seeks publicity, just does work. And I have to tell you, CG, you're phenomenal. Phenomenal. So, I think, and I'm sorry, my heart is full tonight, so I'm going to share, because she's also a phenomenal manager. And when I became minister, one of the things that frustrated me deeply was the number of complaints that came about this mission. It was literally, statistically, the most complained about mission across what were then our 23 missions across the world. It was the mission that had the most backlogs in terms of passports and other consular activities. And that's no longer the case. CG has been the only head of mission who has been able to actually do a time and work study that has allowed us to sit with PICA and the other agencies of government, like the Administrator General, on whose behalf we pay pensions, etc., to allow us to restructure how we are going to deliver services to you here and to all of those persons who are watching online, but who require services from this mission. To recalibrate how we staff. And these are things that you don't understand. You just experience that, oh, why is this taking so long? Or why is no one answering the phone? The phone system has been fixed too. Although the volumes are still so high, it's still a challenge. But she's the first head of mission that has actually had the management capability to sit down, look at the system, run her Excel spreadsheet. She's a spreadsheet girl. And fix the systems. And I really want to say, CG, this has been phenomenal. We've been able to share it with other heads of mission and demonstrate what is possible when you actually fix systems and not just the short-term symptoms. I want to thank you for it. This is something that people will never see or hear of. So I want to share that with this small crowd who braved the rain this morning to say, you really have a jewel here. And I hope you're being, like taking care of her here while she's with you. So another thing she does is arm twisting, which is how I, who had absolutely no time to be at the gala, ended up at the gala. But then I was happy to be here with you, and I'm happy to be back here again. And over the last couple of weeks, we've been, last week really at it, because it feels like 2 weeks, but it really is a week. We've been engaging in bilaterals. I'll just share with you, we're engaging in bilaterals with my counterpart from South Korea, from Jordan. We've entered into diplomatic relations with Jordan, with Gambia, with India. We've had a panel discussion with Foreign Minister of India, Foreign Minister of Portugal, Foreign Minister of Guyana. Had bilaterals with the Foreign Minister of Portugal. We have engaged with, who am I forgetting? I mentioned Jordan. Liechtenstein, we have entered into formal diplomatic relations with Liechtenstein as well. You might ask, why are you meeting with Liechtenstein? Tiny population, hugest GDP, one of the most, one of the largest and most resourced financial services industries in the world. Fantastic digitalization, and transform their society beyond agriculture, an agrarian one. Phenomenal lessons to be learned. Portugal, huge maritime and coastal and tourism industries. Lots to cooperate on there. We already have going cooperation between our Caribbean Maritime Institute and their Escola Nautica Infante. It's probably not an effective pronunciation, but it'll work for tonight. And we're also looking at, we signed an agreement for us to cooperate in broader areas as well. Jordan, peace-loving nation, surrounded by quite a bit of conflict, high level of digitalization as well, and a deep and abiding belief in the UN Charter, which Jamaica shares. Again, looking at how it is we can learn from each other. That's just a small subset of what we've been doing, if I recall correctly. Serbia, again, huge digitalization, modular health sector systems, opportunities for financing, and again, agri-tech and agro-processing, lots of cooperation there to be done. And so we've been engaging with them in on those areas. And this is part of what the work of foreign affairs. A lot of people think that foreign affairs is about, you know, going to cocktail parties. I'll never forget a politician saying to me, so I suppose your life is one big soiree. So, wow. Because they don't see the work that goes behind the toast that signifies the cooperation between two nations. They don't understand the effort that goes into learning about the country and engaging with counterparts in a way that builds partnerships and that tells the story of Jamaica in a way that encourages others to partner with us in different ways and to help our people to grow and prosper. And that's at the heart of the work that we do. It is also through the phenomenal team of heads of missions and honorary consuls. The honorary consular network is one which we have expanded since I've become minister, and we have changed out some of our more senior members who perhaps were not as active as they used to be, but have passed on to others now who are vibrant and who brave rain to drive from neighboring states because they are committed. They're committed to ensuring that Jamaica's star continues to shine. And this is the best job in the world, to represent the best country in the world and to ensure that others work with us to make us even better. So we've been working today on trying to fine-tune the statement, the national policy statement for tomorrow. And that is going to seek to highlight some areas of our foreign policy which are relevant for today's time. and link in some ways to things that are happening at home. How it is that peace and security is important to us domestically and how it's important to us on a multilateral scale. What we're proposing and what we're advocating for in respect of Haiti, which speaks to regional peace and security. The importance of financing and development and access to affordable financing for development, and how that relates back to our economic growth plans for growth plans for sustainable and inclusive economic growth. It'll speak about some of the investments that we've been making and how it is that we're seeking. And this is investments in people, as well as investments in infrastructure. And infrastructure means security infrastructure, physical infrastructure, digital infrastructure, and certainly is a major part of what has driven our economic growth. I'm sure you'd agree, Minister Hill. I wanted to just share a little bit about some of the things that we've been doing in respect of our people, because I know education concerns a lot of Jamaicans in the diaspora. And I'm just going to touch on just a few things that we've been doing recently, or that we've started doing recently. And then I'll probably open up the floor to questions, because I know that you have some good ones for Minister Hill and some easier ones for me. So we're going to open up the floor for that, and then allow for more informal engagements, because I know sometimes we don't like to ask questions from the floor, but we like to engage more personally. You're the young lady who proposed the direct contributions and started off the evening with a contribution and called on everyone to actually be tangible in their contributions to nation building. Welcome. I'm glad you're back here again, and I hope we'll be able to speak after. Okay. I think we should welcome her, by the way. 26 years old, CPA, CFA, CPA, right? And here doing business, entrepreneur or working with a company, right? And just amazing young lady. I encourage you to introduce yourself to her for upstanding reasons and to pick her brain, right? Right, okay. So one of the things that we're doing is, or that we've started, is a partnership between the Student Loan Bureau and the Micro University College to grant full tuition scholarships for 1,250 new STEM teachers over 5 years. So the first cohort of close to 300 student teachers have taken up their scholarships at the start of this academic year. There's also a further 1,000 STEM scholarships to be provided at UTech over the next 5 years. So this is a totaling 2.4 billion Jamaican dollars. So what we're doing is, when we say, okay, we have to harness the opportunities of the future, we have to promote STEM, we realize that the capacity is important at the teacher side and at the young people building side, the student side. So we're dealing with the root and the fruit. We are teaching our teachers, and we're removing the barriers, saying we want you to teach STEM. So we're making it free for you to teach them. So if you have the capacity, you don't have a burden, and it incentivizes people who might otherwise have chosen other fields. So that is one big thing. And then on the student side, of course, removing the barriers for our amazingly talented young people who are good at it, naturally good at it, but might otherwise be burdened by economic challenges. On the perspective of the more vulnerable students from path households, or from households with incomes of less than 1.5 million Jamaican dollars, are being awarded an additional 4,200 grants of $60,000. So this is a cost of $252 million. This is for them to pursue tertiary education. So if you're from a path household, you get an additional $60,000 to be able to go towards your tuition or your educational pursuits. And also, as of September, past students who applied to the Student Loan Bureau did not need to provide any guarantors. So I know you know that this has been, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. We had done before, and we've been doing phased implementation of making it a little easier at the Student Loan Bureau. So we have removed to one guarantor from two. Everybody was required before to provide two. Whether you were on path or non-path, you had to provide two guarantors. We've reduced that to one. Your loan is now calculated on the reducing balance. When I had my student loan, it was not. It was current interest, and it was not on the reducing balance. And God bless when that thing was actually paid off. But we have actually changed the calculation, and it is also now on simple interest on the reducing balance. So that really reduces the level of indebtedness and the ability of persons to pay off their loans. So that has also been a good, we've also reduced the interest rates and reduced the interest rates on particular STEM areas as well to incentivize persons to take up scholarships, or rather take up loans for the study of STEM areas. We have removed tuition and administrative fees from our National Skills Training Agency, the HEART NSTA, all the way up to the associate level degree. So there is no cost. And while it has taken a little time for persons to start to understand that this is true, this is real, this wasn't a promise, it is in implementation, so that registrations are up 20% over last year. It still is more women than young men who are taking up these inscriptions. But we're out and we're encouraging people. And if you have family that's home, skills, as we all know, are not sort of, a peripheral approach to life. Skills are making money nowadays. They are viable. They create viable careers. And people should no longer look at skills as secondary, which is what they have done traditionally in our system, right? But now the aim is to ensure that our young people are seeing that there are real opportunities in vocational skills, and all of the barriers are removed for them to take them up. So again, this is on our capacity building and our looking to the future. We're trying to ensure that all aspects, or rather all levels, are given the opportunity to succeed. We've also implemented a basic digital literacy course in HEART, so that once you enter HEART, and this is whether you're entering as a senior person who's seeking to have your skills valued and certified, because remember, HEART does that now, which it never used to. Now you can get a certificate if you don't have any formal certification, but you've been working as a plumber, a carpenter, a welder, for 20 years, for 30 years, you're a senior man in the job and you know your business, but you don't have any certification, and that affects your prospects. Now, HEART has systems to value your abilities and your experience so that you can get certified. And some of these are mobile done as well. They go into the communities, they set an appointment, and people can come and get certified. So again, it's bringing people into a formal way of living, recognizing the value of training, of a certificate that says you are able to do this to level X and Y, which helps their earning opportunities and helps when we're encouraging investors to come in and employ our people and set up big businesses that rely on skills. So this is something that is gathering more steam and doing very well for our people. And then on the other side of things, this is building our capacity in the public sector, but still in education. We have the Marcus Garvey Public Sector Graduate Scholarships, which is now in its third year, and from which 43 public sector workers have so far benefited. And these are the big scholarships. These are postgraduate scholarships to Johns Hopkins, to Columbia, to Oxford. These are where we are building the big skills that are needed for our public sector workers to have the level of policy development and administrative skills that will be able to take us from level to level. What has been happening is that those skills all migrate into the private sector, so that we don't always have what we need at the core of government to get things done. So this is now building that cadre of public sector leaders, civil servants, who are being supported in postgraduate studies to ensure that we build our government infrastructure, not only the political infrastructure, but the actual civil service within the system. So these are just some of the things that we're doing. There's all sorts of things that I could talk about. I could talk about investments in crime. I know somebody will ask about that. Somebody can talk about the infrastructure investments and the roads, what's happening with the farm roads, etc. You'll ask me a question about that. And a whole list of other things that are written out here very beautifully, but that I won't take up the time because I know that there are things that you want to ask as well. So I want to thank you again for making the time to be here. I know there are 1,000 other things that you could be doing. So I want to assure you that we value your time and we value your presence. And we extra value the ones who came from Utah and Philadelphia. But we value all of you, absolutely. Because coming here, I have to admit, just before I take my seat, that I had said, you know, boy, it's kind of rainy. When we're up here, we change. Lady said to me, not really, you know, Minister. We still don't love go out. I was like, oh, the room is going to be empty. But it's not. You're here and smiling and not at all gray like the weather. So I really want to thank you very much again for being here with us. And I look forward to your questions and to maybe having I won't have a sip of rum punch because I still have to work at my speech, but we'll have good conversation after. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
All right. Thank you so much, Minister, for that presentation. I'm sure that after that, there are no questions in the room, right? All right. It was such a comprehensive presentation that I'm sure that it has answered some of the questions that have been asked, but I know that persons want to ask their questions. As you would recall, for those of you, when you got the invitation, we asked you to submit your questions ahead of time so that we can be quite efficient this evening, because as you heard, Minister has to go back to doing her preparations for tomorrow morning. So while she gets a sip of water, oh, you want me to bring it for you? Okay. All right. How this will go, I'm going to ask the questions on your behalf. If you didn't hear your question or your name called, it's probably because somebody else submitted the same question, and what we did was to subsume them into one. But just know that your questions were all noted. They were all noted, and Minister has seen them. So just to give Minister a break, I'm going to start off the Q&A with the other minister in the room. And this question was submitted by Mr. Adrian Lawrence. And he asks two questions, but I'll ask one at first. Can you discuss specifically how Jamaica is positioned to attract foreign investments in view of the emerging opportunities in AI and ESG?
Thank you very much. And thanks again, Minister, for that very comprehensive presentation. Ashia, did I get that right? Very good to see you, and thank you for your contribution and for leading from the front with your checkbook. Appreciate that. She has a gala coming up. AI and ESG, how is Jamaica poised to benefit and get investments from that? AI, of course, is very topical. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody doesn't quite understand it. And those who have created it tell you straight up front that we're not sure where it's going to go. Jamaica is probably, there are many, many countries who have the resources like the United States, but others as well, that are looking at AI in very different ways, and it will develop in ways that we don't fully understand. Remember, those of you who are older, when computers were going to take over the world and they would run the world and everything would shut down. Remember when after the Second World War, when the nuclear bomb, which could really destroy Judge Moore, good to see you. Judge Sharp, oh, she's officially Judge Sharp. Sharp, that's your maiden name. So good to see you. Remember when after the Second World War, when the atomic bomb was identified, the world was going to be destroyed, and literally it could have been destroyed. Remember the arrangement with mutual assured destruction? When the United States could destroy Russia, and Russia could destroy the United States. It's funny, people like our wonderful foreign minister got them in a room, and after about 5 to 7 years, that's 5 weeks or 2 weeks, after many years, they came to the various treaties that made sure we're alive. I come from the school that only one person who is supreme will decide when the world will be destroyed. Below that, we will have to work it out. Which means, you heard what Minister said about STEM? That STEM budget comes out of the second largest spend by the Andrew Holness administration. The largest spend comes out of finance because finance pays the loans and the interest on loans. But the actual biggest operational spending is in the Ministry of Education and Youth. It's 150 billion Jamaican dollars. It's a lot of money. So those STEM money that you hear coming out and is coming out of a decision by the government, purposeful decision to say we're going to train our people. I have been talking, the Prime Minister sent a number of ministers, including the Minister of Education and myself, who went to Arizona State University, which incidentally, if you don't know, is one of the leading places for cybersecurity and so on. Well, as I look at what's happening in the world, no matter what happens, cybersecurity is going to be necessary. We don't have the landmass of the United States, nor 320 or 350 million people. We certainly don't have the landmass of other bigger countries, not even smaller countries. But neither did Singapore, nor did Liechtenstein, nor Switzerland, nor Israel. It is the population that you have. Notice the minister picked out one thing to speak about out of all the 15 or 16 ministries we have: education. That's the future. So you asked me about AI and what's going to happen there. And ESG I'll talk about in a little bit because that's a little bit different. AI is here. We can't hide from it. We're going to have to train for it. We're going to have to make sure our kids get the exposure here in Jamaica and make sure we are so good. And I have to say this very carefully because I'm in the presence of the senior diplomat of the country. But I come from business, so like she'll give me a little room, as she said. So listen to me, our guys are so good that even your FBI are interested in a few of them. We're not so happy about that. We're not at all happy, but they're good. We need to redirect that. We need to retrain them in different way. We need to make sure it is, see me here, young man, stand up there, tall guy. Just tell them your name for me.
My name is Ricardo Allen. I'm the founder and CEO of One-on-One, an online education technology company.
That's a young man. Give him a clap. Danny Williams, who just passed, of wonderful memory, was one of his main investors, his mentor. I know Douglas Lorraine was another one. One-to-one, one-on-one, make sure that they're training people using the technology in the schools. So where you don't have all the math teachers, he provides them on technology. He's a young man. He's taught. I was there when it was the 100th offering on the Junior Stock Exchange. I was there for the opening, and here he is, have his own listed company on what Bloomberg calls in a 5-year period. For 2 of those years, the best run stock market in the world, not the biggest, the best run, best performing, and one of the best run. We run it well. So, and he's on that stock exchange. That's the kind of young people we're looking for. So for those, we're looking to redirect them. And I went to Canada recently, and everywhere I go, I take business people with me, as I told you. Because they have to open markets. Well, when I went to Canada a couple of months ago, I took 16 ICT companies. I bet you didn't know we have 16 in Jamaica. Okay? So that's where we're going to make sure we meet the challenge of AI by saying to young people, here's a great opportunity for you. This is what the world wants. We get teachers in there, we get technology to help them, and we are going to not run away and hide and cry and complain, and that mutual assured destruction is going to take us. No. We're Jamaicans. We're going to handle it. And we're putting the money. And the Andrew Holness administration, which is interested and intent on running a good country, is doing that. ESG, we don't have the privilege of wondering if climate change is coming. We're an island. All around us is water. We don't have the time. I can tell you, when I came back to Jamaica 20 years ago, I went to Hellshire Beach to have fish. Anybody who's been to Jamaica know it? Well, let's say Miss Mary's, and Miss Mary is her name. Her shop was here that I buy the fish from, and the sea was about where the wall is. Today, the water is lapping under there. It has moved. But I don't do the science, but I know the water moves. Okay, so everybody can argue about it. We know that the water move. So we are looking now at making sure we have an island that is beautiful. It has mountains, it has beaches, and so on. We have to make sure we take care of it. The way we're investing, we have an issue with energy. Like the rest of the world, we have to look at that and how we find ways to invest to make that work while making sure our country continues to grow. Because if we don't grow, we're not going anywhere. People will remain poor. In fact, as I told before, we can't just sell to 3 million people and become rich. We're going to have to sell to a lot more. So we have to produce a lot more. Therefore, we have to take that in consideration and get that balance right, where we protect the environment, but heaven for sake, the environment doesn't exist for itself. It exists to treat and help people, and we, in the government, must make sure that works.
All right.
They have multiple questions. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Minister. All right, so the next question I will pose to you, Minister Johnson Smith. And this question was sent in by Mrs. Michelle Tolonil, our Northeast Diaspora representative. And I will also pair that question with one that was sent in also by Mr. Andrew Sharp. Mrs. Neal's question is, we in the diaspora are more than willing to send more than money back home. We are concerned about our children and the education system. So many children are left behind due to difficult circumstances and neglect. The diaspora to this day is faced with challenges when it comes to delivering necessary items to help needy children in school. What are the ways in which we can make this an easier process? And Mr. Sharp's question is, as I said, it follows on. With regards to digitalization, will the government be looking at improving the donation process by placing it online?
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you, Mrs. Toller-Reed, for your question. And very much want to also express appreciation for your, are you here?
No, she isn't here.
Okay, right, you're online. Thank you for your question. And in your absence, thank you for your service to the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, on which you now sit as the Northeast representative. The National Education Trust was established by Prime Minister Holness when he was Minister of Education. I think it came about in 2009, and it is now the body which allows for the tax concessions to be applied to donations in the education sector. And it is the information rather about this trust is available online. And not only is there broad information available online, but a step-by-step process on how to send items is there. So I actually have printed off a copy, and I'm going to just leave it with CG to get to you if there is any difficulty that navigating the site, but there shouldn't be. But just for ease of reference, I'm going to provide that to you. But one thing to recognize, and all of the contact information is available online as well. And I believe they're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, so that you can also contact them through those means, or at least find information there as well. It does require you to send an email when you are to them when you're sending. It does require you to have a partner charitable organization in Jamaica in order to facilitate the tax concessions through customs. And there is a system, there's a process. It works. Many people use it to send things regularly and consistently without problem. So what it requires, however, that you do is that you follow the process. Sometimes we like to just send, and then we complain when somehow the systems stand up on us. There's a process. So once you follow the process, it works fine, and it gives you tax concessions. I think it allows you to also claim as 105. It allows you to claim on this side as well, tax concessions on this side as well. So I invite you, check out the National Education Trust. It does have a simplified way, but we do continue to look at our systems and always try to find how we can do them more efficiently. I'll just add that for returning residents, Customs has an online process for you now to register and to clear. So you don't have to spend the whole day at Customs when you're clearing your stuff on the Jamaica side. There is an online clearance process now that allows for a whole lot more efficiency and a lot less contact. So I invite you to look at that as well. Go to the Customs site online. We have had a couple Zoom sessions where we have shared with the public here, but the information is online. We believe that you shouldn't have to know somebody to call to get information. You should be able to just go online and find it, and it will be correct, because sometimes even if you think you know somebody, that person might not actually be correct. So we're trying to ensure that information is available across the piece for everyone who wants or needs it, and that it's correct. So I hope that's helpful. net.gov.jn. Thank you. Oh, and the thing is, there's not an online donation process. That is not there. Right. But we are exploring ways in which that can be done. But you can contact them, and then of course the bank transfers, etc., are online. So it's a process though, because it's still security, and payments made to government have to be made into the consolidated fund for reallocation, and that process makes it a little more complicated because of the accounting. So, but we are looking at it. No problem.
All right, thank you, Minister. And Mr. Sharp is here, so he would have heard your answer in person.
And please, I'm coming all the way from Boston.
Oh, hi. So you're special welcome too. Special welcome.
All right. Is Miss Judy Villeneuve here? Okay, you can just stand. All right. So the question from Miss Villeneuve for Minister. What is the Jamaican Foreign Affairs position concerning the untenable exodus of Jamaican teachers and the impact on local school teacher shortages?
Well, I think this is less a foreign affairs issue and more a national resource management issue. So Jamaica operates a free and liberal economy. We do not restrict people on seeking opportunities overseas, as you would all well know, we don't restrict people seeking opportunities overseas, and that includes our teachers. And that has been a bit difficult where globally education sectors are experiencing shortages, and therefore they have been actively recruiting from smaller countries such as ours, which have highly trained professionals with broad experience that is applicable and relevant, especially in their inner cities. So this is a difficult matter for us to manage. What I can say is that this year, we can recognize that we had a significant reduction. Less than half of the number of teachers who resigned last year resigned this year. So that is, we believe that that is partly a function of the increase in compensation that has been provided, but also a function of management. I can confirm that vacancies that existed at schools have been filled with new teachers because we've been training more teachers. And I want to say that although we have a traditional concept that if teachers are fresh from Teachers College, then they're not good because they don't have the quote unquote experience. But we have had some phenomenal results in schools, in CSEC, CAPE, and in PEP from teachers who are fresh from Teachers College. They come with all their new energy and passion for teaching and have been delivering great results. So we welcome them into the sector. We trust that they will continue to grow, and we hope that they will stay with us for longer. But we're not treating this so much as a foreign affairs matter, although it is a matter that we engage with partner countries on, but more in health than education. Because what we're trying to look at is systems that allow for a sort of mutual support in terms of where resources are located and the specializations that are, or the specialist training that is required for them to be able to provide their services at home and abroad. And that is something that we've been looking at with the UK and with the US as well. And I see Mr. One-on-One has something to contribute. So you're more than welcome to contribute to this conversation because it is a conversation. Thank you. Thank you,
Okay. Thank you, Minister. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ricardo Allen, as I mentioned earlier. Now, the matter of teacher shortage is a big one. And as Minister said, there are many strategies that the government have put in place to kind of mitigate the impact that it is having and has had on the country. Now, one of the strategies that they have looked at is through working with One-on-One or a company. And we're doing something quite unique and I'm really excited about. So, just to give you some perspectives, what we've done is last year we did an IPO. We raised about 350 million, close to 400 million. And we've worked with the government to build a massive studio in Kingston, which is a classroom that has, let's say, 7 or 8 rooms. And we get the best teachers in the country to stay there, right? And they're teaching from the central location, the best experts. And in the schools, we're putting up 100-inch interactive panels in these classrooms. So can you imagine the best teacher in Kingston, Jamaica, sitting in a room and teaching to the entire country, and these students are immersing themselves into the best that they can get, kind of thing, right? That is what we're doing right now. That's what your country is doing. And we're not just doing this for the Kingston schools, right? We're talking about these rural schools, Mile Gully, Westwood High School, wherever they are, we're reaching them. And we're doing it in a very innovative way. For example, you have schools that may not have access to the fastest internet. Well, we've installed Elon Musk's satellite internet Starlink in these schools, right? So can you imagine the opportunity that is in front of us? Now, here's why I like it, Minister, and here's why I love it. I don't think like is quite the adjective. If we have skills that we want the industry to know and the things that they need to be skilled on, then we can put them in that central room and get it to every solitary student all across the island. And that is where the future is. It is to get the best to everyone, no child left behind. That's what your country is doing. That's what we're working on. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that. All right. So the next question, Minister Hill, if you may permit me to ask one of your team members to answer to take this question. Let me find out, is Shanice Fish here? Okay, you can stand. Is Samuel Sherrington here? Okay, you can stand as well. And is Shanique here? Oh, this is Shanique. Okay, all right. So these questions, I believe, are, Jampro related. And I'll just ask them all at once. And I'll ask Miss Cox to just join me here and she can answer the questions. All right. So the first one is, how can a small Jamaican owner like myself import products from Jamaica to help better the Jamaican economy? Um, yes. And then the next question, this is from Shanice. I'm opening a Caribbean food market in Newark, New Jersey, and I would like to connect with Jamaican food distributors. How do I make that connection? And Samuel's question is, what is the status of the diaspora bond and how can the diaspora participate in NHT? I think, yes, I'll leave that one for Minister. All right. So the first two, yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. So answer is very easy. Call Jampro. So this is why Jampro exists. We are Jamaica's export promotion agency, and we are here specifically to put you in contact with companies that you want to buy from in Jamaica. We, prior to last week, because we just made a big announcement that we are no longer going through the process of registering exporters. It's a big deal for us because it removes bureaucracy. But prior to last week, we used to register all exporters from Jamaica. And so now we are entered into a partnership with Jamaica Customs, where the producers of all goods and services, we know who they are. And in a lot of instances, there are our clients. As a matter of fact, some of them are in the room with us because we brought a couple of those companies with us to New York to introduce them to new business partners. So Jampro has a catalog of companies that want to do business with you on this side of the world. And so we can put you in contact with not just one company or two companies, but a set of companies so that you can discuss your specific needs and requirements and come to an arrangement with those companies. And on our side in Jamaica, we work very closely with them to make sure that whatsoever your needs are, they can meet it on their side. So if it is that they need to build capacity or if they need to do anything differently in order to give you what you want, Jampro will work with them for that. Or contact information, info@dobusinessjamaica.com, and you can always talk to me after this event, right? And I'll hand over to Minister for the Diaspora Bond.
Thank you, Shalette. In 2008, thereabouts, our current CG, who was then a big investment banker earning a whole for money in New York, came up with the idea of the diaspora bond. And you will remember that in 2008, the world was in a tailspin. Subprime was killing us. Jamaica didn't know whether we were going left, right, or center. So, being as innovative as she is, she came up with this idea. It went through the process. I saw it when I was not in government at the time. But David Panton and I talked about it, and with Alcyon, because when we came to government, we made a commitment, as I told you, to make sure we reduce our debts. So we had to look at the fiscal space, the room that the government had to put on more debt. And since we've been in government, except for when the pandemic hit, our debt trajectory has been down. We're taking it from 147, it's down to 77. We expect to get to 60% or thereabouts by 2028, or maybe less, maybe before that, because our receipts, or revenue receipts, have been doing so well because the economy is doing well. So we haven't gone to market. In fact, what we've been doing is paying off debt to make sure we get back to where we should be and shouldn't have been before. So we're not now looking at adding debt, and so the diaspora bond is there, good product, but we're not in the process of taking it forward. It's being considered for a time when it might be needed. But right now, our main aim is to take our debt down, as I said, and also to make sure that we look at growing our exports. I want to mention what Mr. Allen said, and you will understand why the Minister of Business and the government of Andrew Holness, when we agreed with the IMF with most everything, when the issue came up about closing the stock market, we were not in government then, we were in the opposition. The then leader of the party, Andrew Holness, Favour Williams, who is now the Minister of Education, I was then the leader of the opposition, the chairman of his economic advisory council, and we took on the government at the time. We will not close it. And Manayad, Audley, had put in the junior stock exchange and was relentless about not giving it up. And we didn't give it up. In fact, the moment we came in 2016, the first thing Audley did, I was in the Ministry of Finance at the time, was to extend it and make sure it had better benefits so that people like young Mr. Allen, who would never be able to have had equity capital, is able to go to the junior stock exchange. All of you can go to the junior stock exchange, and we have made sure that these entrepreneurs have had billions of dollars that would have gone somewhere else and they get it from Jamaican investors to make our country stronger. We're very proud of that. And we want to make sure that that continues. And look at what he's doing. I mean, you have to see what that studio is. He's been with me to Guyana. He's been to Dumrep. He's now here. He's probably going to England with me. I'm not sure if he's on the list. Yes, he's going. So these are the kind of people that we take. Now, Grace is there. Grace is in England and Canada and here and everywhere else. Grace doesn't need me. I know Don has all the lawyers he wants. He can hire them. He can have accountants. If he ever needs, he knows who to call. Jamaica Brothers Group doesn't need me. Wisinko doesn't need me. These are the people, the middle and small businesses I take and say, here, go look at exports and let us grow. That's my export plug. Next question.
All right. Is Miss Sharon Johnson here? No? Okay, but the question from Ms. Johnson for Minister Johnson Smith is, what measures are being undertaken by the Jamaican government to decrease the homicide rate throughout Jamaica, especially for returning residents?
That's definitely a point.
Definitely a foreign affairs issue. Before I take on the matter of homicides, I just want to add that there was an unanswered aspect of the last question, which was in relation to NHT. And the point is that for NHTs, you have to be a contributor. You have to be a contributor. So what we've been doing is building the capacity of NHT to work with work with commercial banks to expand reach and access, and of course, and capital and efficiencies. But you still have to be a contributor. So you can partner, because there's that process now where you can partner with someone with points, but you still have to build your points as well. So you have to become a contributor in order to access NHT funding for your homes. So I hope that helps, if not. So over the last 7 years, the administration has invested more in national security than any administration preceding it. This investment has not been unidimensional. It has been extremely broad-based and has been delivering results. We have invested in mobility, increasing the number of fit-for-purpose vehicles, the number of pickups for predial larceny units, for regular vehicles, but with the appropriate equipment, heavy duty and motorcycles in order to increase mobility and agility of the force. We've been working on technology to ensure that police stations are connected by microwave and by internet. And we're working on changing out the big books into digital diaries so that things are registered and not handwritten statements, etc. We've been renovating and building new stations. We have renovated 130 police stations across the island, and we're building 6. I can't recall how many are built already, but 6 were being built. And these police stations and the renovations that are being done are not only about improving morale and the working conditions of police, but also their ability to provide services to citizens. So there are domestic services centers at 6 and being rolled out to 14. There are areas which allow persons to come in and make sensitive reports in privacy. Before, you would know if you're making whatever you are making the report about, be it public or private, the world knows because you have to do it right there in the front and they don't talk soft. Now, people are being trained in sensitivity and customer service. They're being trained in human rights, and they're being provided with facilities that allow for some improved dignity in seeking these services from the constabulary. We have been working on the autopsy suite, and we've been training in forensics and providing more technology in respect of forensics and the ability to solve crime. So the clear up rate has been increasing as well. And we have been addressing, well, the hard issues by use of states of emergency, targeted states of emergency, and curfews in order to address the more intransigent issues of criminality. We've been dealing with entering into greater global partnerships and information sharing with our international partners, primarily the US, UK, and Canada. We have also improved our cyber capacity, but that is, I suppose, probably its own separate issue. We've been working on community policing and ensuring that we are engaging our unattached youth to try to reduce on the production side of the crime line. And we've also been improving the rehabilitation programs that exist in our correctional facilities, so that we're dealing with the rehabilitation and recidivism side of crime. So there's a holistic approach to crime that's dealing with also our border control, trying to deal with improving our monitoring at customs to prevent illicit arms and ammunition from coming in. And we've been dealing with the patrol of our waters. Remember, when we took this administration, there were no working Coast Guard vessels. Literally none. There were 3 docked, but none was working. And we traded into the part for parts to reduce the cost of our first, and subsequently invested in 4 vessels. We've also engaged in partnerships with the Japanese, which has given us 6 additional, not Coast Guard vessels, but maritime patrol, go fast vessels, 3 to the JDF, 3 to the JCF, and we have invested in some ourselves. The US has also given us a couple go fast vessels as well, because if you're not controlling your waters, if you're not controlling who is coming in and out, and this is probably why you don't hear as much about the ship rider anymore, because we are actually interdicting, we are actually stopping the traffickers of guns, people, and drugs. You know that there are issues. Jamaica is hugely well situated from a shipping perspective. We are at the center of everything, which is great for trade, but it has also been used for illicit means. So one of the major things that we have been doing is trying to invest in improving our patrol of our waters. And that is a major part of trying to reduce the cycle of guns which produce gun crimes. So we have experienced a 22% reduction across the piece in serious crime. So that's the average across all the serious crime indicators: murders, shootings, rapes, larceny, and what's the fifth? There are 5 serious crimes. Anybody? Anybody? Robberies, right. So, well, larceny, no, robberies is the aggravated, right. Okay. No, this is not foreign affairs, but when you're in foreign affairs, you do have to know a bit about exactly what's going on. And I do sit on the National Security Council, so I am happy to take these questions. So we've experienced a 22% reduction, and I think that the sheer importance of this reduction is sometimes not appreciated. But I always remember when we took office and we used to talk about trying to achieve even a 5% reduction in murders. We said if we could even move the needle by 5%, this would take us in the right direction. And we're down 22%. So this is phenomenal. Our security forces should be congratulated. We don't hear the complaints that we used to hear about before. We know they are becoming more professional. We know we're weeding out the corrupt ones. We know we're retiring and we're training, and they are being better trained than ever before, and they're being resourced. So getting on top of this crime monster is going to take a longer time than we would like, because it has been building for so long. We moved from 400 murders in, was it 19, when was it we were from 400 murders? Was it 1989? To 1,200 within, was it 10 years, 15 years?
About 15 years.
So getting it down from that, you know, it's like weight. It goes on very easily. It doesn't come off quite so easily. The issues are multifaceted. Sorry, that's a personal issue, but the issues are multifaceted. They're deeply, they're deeply embedded in cultural practices, in a raft of issues that have to also be dealt with. But I can say that we're investing in the problems, we're aware of the problems, and we are getting results. So this is positive. We're moving in the right direction in respect of returning residents in particular. And I know returning residents, while they ask the question about themselves, they are concerned about the general Jamaica, which is why I've phrased my answer so broadly. But we do also have a handbook for returning residents that gives some practical tips. It was devised by the Jamaica Returning Residents Association, the JCF, the JDF, and some broader stakeholders who looked at practical things like be careful who you hire. Everybody who, be careful who you bring into your home. Sometimes you've been away so long, you feel like, the whole community is family. Maybe not so much anymore. You need to take careful decisions, not display wealth, unwisely, and just to generally be circumspect in certain ways that might perhaps not come naturally if it is that you didn't have the guidance. So those things there is a handbook. I remember I had asked for it to be digitized. I'm not sure if it's on our websites now. I think there was an effort. It's on the consulate website now. Okay, lovely. So you can have a look for it. There's a link that you should be able to find that gives some good tips and guidance. So I hope that is helpful.
All right. So I'll allow Minister to have her water. And the next question we'll pose to our Consul General. She will take this one because I think you can easily answer this one, CG. So this question is Susan Shirley Peart here. Okay, so she posed a question. My question is, why is it that we who are migrated from Jamaica since childhood and started to do business in Jamaica, the Jamaican government is demanding us, I think that should be of us, to get a Jamaican passport and a TRN?
Thank you, sir. Before I respond to the question, though, Mr. Andrew Sharp, so good to see you. You must come more often, man. And thank you for the fantastic work you're doing in Boston. Yeah, Boston is one of the states that we're responsible for here. And our friends from the Jamaica Organization of New Jersey. Good to see you. Thank you so much. Um, the Jamaica government does not demand that you need to have a passport in order to do business in Jamaica. What the government asks is that you have a TRN. And, you know, I once owned a business in New York. Actually, I owned two businesses, a financial company and a cybersecurity company. The US government requires that you have an EIN, right? Isn't that true? Right. So, similarly, in Jamaica, you need to have a TRN. And it is actually very easy. Mr. Marlon Lindsay, who, by the way, and I hope, you know, I hope I've answered the question. I can assist anyone who would like to incorporate a business in Jamaica and want to apply for the TRN. If you call me, I'll walk you through on the website, and it's very easy how to submit the application for your TRN. But Mr. Marlon Lindsay, who is the CEO of 21st Century Education and is the master of STEM minister, and Minister Johnson Smith and Minister Hill just spoke about STEM. Marlon will be setting up his business in Jamaica. And in fact, while I was sitting here, Minister, Mr. Marlon Lindsay, I know there's a reason why you came all the way from Utah. Marlon sent me this message, and I am ready. It says, I need you, me, to help me, him, with, and this is just so touching. I need you to help me with getting a national virtual STEM academy launched to provide free comprehensive STEM education to all Jamaicans. Brother, when we're finished here, please come up to my office and let's get started.
All right. Thank you, CG. All right. So the next question for Minister Hill. Um, Are there any meaningful initiatives that are aimed at addressing Jamaica's dependence on foreign agricultural products?
The simple answer is yes. The Prime Minister has just appointed Minister Floyd Green, young, energetic, understands the business, is from St. Elizabeth, right near my home, where we grow lots of things. But importantly, he is bringing a technological aspect and view to doing agriculture. We, Shalette Cox from Jampro, all the members of the team, Kelly Dawn Hamilton from Jamaica Special Economic Zone Authority, all of us who are they're here with the team and the business people here. I am here to say to you, listen up. Goya would take 20 40-foot containers per month, or certainly every 6 weeks, of ackee. Goya and others would take another bunch, 6 to 10 containers a month of Scotch bonnet, of callaloo, of breadfruit flour, because it's gluten-free and Jamaicans know it, of breadfruit slices, of dasheen flour. So I am telling you that they're markets. When I used to be a consultant after I stopped being a banker, the first thing I look for when a client comes to me is to say, oh, I have to stand up before this thing, huh? Right. Okay. The first thing I look for when I was consulting is, do you have a market? And if you don't have one, can we make one? When we answer those questions in the affirmative, either one, then we start a business. Here, we have the market in the richest country in the world, but Canada wants some too. England wants some, where I'm going from there. So I'm not asking you anymore to buy Jamaican products, as I am. What I'm asking you to do, for God's sake, come home and invest. And why should you do it? Listen to this. You heard CG said that Moody's just downrated or put on watch the US economy. US is going to be all right. I'm going to be on TV tomorrow. I'm sure somebody's going to ask me about that. But you have to reserve currency. So, really. We don't have that privilege. So we're saying to you, look at Jamaica now. Jamaica, coming out of the pandemic, is the only country in the region, the hemisphere, if you will, that can put these three metrics together. Actually, I know you're looking at the metrics. I see your brain working on the metrics. Okay? Coming out of the pandemic, or unemployment is lower than before the pandemic. In fact, now it's the lowest in the history of the country. Or debt to GDP is lower than when the pandemic hit. Or GDP growth is higher than when the pandemic hit. No other country in the region can put those three metrics together. And it's true for Jamaica. But then, Standard & Poor's went and put on the gravy on top. They upgraded, as CG told you, our bond rating. We're not borrowing, but if we were to borrow now, what we're doing when the bonds that we do have that are at expensive rates come up and we have to reprice them, we get a better price. That money goes to build more schools and hospitals and so on. Jamaica is the place to be. And let me tell you something. I don't care what the rest of them in CARICOM say. I don't care what they say. And we're our friends. The foreign minister is here telling me, be careful now, don't cross that line. We love all of them. But the truth is, after a long time, Jamaica is at that place. There's a time in the history of a country when it's a time to get in there. I remember 25 years ago when I was in Dubai, when Sheikh Mohammed was changing the place. And he put up these palms and you could see it from the satellite. You had to have bravery to go in there and take the property because there were no property rights in Dubai. You couldn't own, you weren't supposed to have any land, and the sheikh had the sheikh. When the sheikh wanted him land, take it back. People who took the chance made a lot of money. Well, we have clear laws. Our judiciary is very strong. If any politician wants to know how strong the judiciary is, just say anything about it. Open your mouth about it, then you see what happens. You hear? And up to now, because you know it's true, up to now, our judicial system leads up to the Privy Council. Investors find that comfortable. It's a great place to invest, guys. We're right where all the trade routes are. Guyana is growing. We love Guyana. Guyanas have a great relationship. Jamaica, until Guyana gets its port, and it's going to get a port like Dubai or Singapore in 5-7 years' time, they have the money. But till then, we're the transshipment point. Come invest in Jamaica. So not just the transshipment point, which Kelly Dawn will tell you about, but come and invest in the agro-processing business. Come and invest in agriculture. I have a man who has 1,200 acres of land. There's a well on it, wants irrigation, needs investment. The Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce with 20 agencies will help you to make sure, don't go and make any mistakes, for God's sake. Okay, come to us. We'll guide you how to do it. We have our agencies. Don't get fussy with people. We will help you and guide you, and you make your decision. Come invest in Jamaica. We have the markets in your country. So come.
All right, so this is going to be the last question of the evening. And but before I go to the last question, I remember when the PM was here and I said it was the last question, he pleaded with me to take Ashia's question. So I don't know if anybody is going to be as gracious as she was. Is there that one question that is going to blow us all away? Like maybe somebody's going to donate $5,000 to a scholarship in Jamaica. No, not today. Claudette, not you. All right. Well, if that is, and just for a plug, the JM Causes, the portal on DonorBox. So that's donorbox.org/JM Causes. You can go on there. No donation is too small, and all of it, 100% of the donations that we collect are going towards scholarships or some of the community programs. None of it stays with us here in New York. So feel free. At the last event we had, and again, actually, I'll say thank you so very much. I gave her the web link, and by the time I got home in the night, it was done. So, yes. Oh my God, CG. Yolando.
1 second. What? No, wait,
You can
1
start.
second. Yolanda, please come up for a second. I have to tell the minister, please permit me. I know that you're very tired and you have to go to finish your policy. While Yolanda is coming up, Minister spoke about, and I really take these things very seriously. Minister spoke about the power of networking. Believe it or not, there is power in networking. Asher, for example, is one of my followers on Instagram. And then we became, friends where I started mentoring her. And I invited her to the Independence Gala. She came, had a wonderful time, and then called to say, CG, I am having my gala, our first gala, coming up in November, right, Asha? And so she asked if I could speak at our gala, and I said, of course. But then I invited her, and this is just to show you the power of network and how this works. And I invited her to our last Diaspora Conversation with our dad, and she came all the way from Long Island, right? And donated to the scholarships $5,000. Now, last week, well, before I get to last week, Yolanda also is one of my followers on Instagram. And about a year or two ago, she sent me a message. There's power in networking. Answer your messages when you have time. When you're driving home or you're on the train, respond, be kind. She sent me a message to say, you're so beautiful. I said, me? She said, yes. And she introduced herself. And she said, I am a Jamaican and I have a makeup line. And I would like to send you a few shades of blushes and so forth. Not that you need them. I remember she said, not that you need them, but I would like to use them. And I said, of course. She sent them and I tried them out and I thought, and I'm wearing her makeup tonight, actually. So, similar to Asher, I invited Yolanda to the gala from Atlanta. Ah. And so she purchased tickets for herself and her husband, and she attended the gala. And 3 days ago, I checked in at her and asked her, how is her business going? How are you doing? And so forth. And I said, by the way, we are having a Diaspora Town Hall tonight and an investment luncheon tomorrow at the Consulate. And we have a few cosmetic companies that will be coming from Jamaica. I think you should be here to network with them. She said, I will be right there. And she came in yesterday and called me this morning to say, I am here and I'm ready. $7,000. Should I talk some more, Minister? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So gentlemen, the ladies I've stepped up. We still haven't gotten even $100, gentlemen. Come on, okay. So let's start. $10,000. Huh? All right. Well, I'm coming to you afterwards, so I'm ready. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Yolanda. I will talk to you before you leave, and so that we can do that. Again, as I say, all the funds that we collect are going to scholarships and community projects, and also to purchase pacemakers for young children. So when you go on Donor Box, you can actually select where you want your funds to go to. There's a drop down. So if you want your funds to go specifically to one of those causes, you can select that. If you want to just go generally, you can just leave it there and we will assign it accordingly. All right. So again, it's donorbox.org/JM causes. And it's easy. All major credit cards accepted. Okay. All right. So with that, donorbox.org and /JM causes. That's it. All right. All right. So with that, I don't even know if I should ask Minister the last question again, but we did say the last question. So with that, I'm going to ask Minister, let me see which one we should take. Yes. So and Minister spoke about cybersecurity as well, and you did. So I think we can jump over that one. All right. What program? This question is Vinroy Bell here? No, he's not. What programs and policies do the GOJ have in place to support and encourage Jamaicans abroad to own homes, and how to do such programs? Okay, how do such programs fit with the offerings of the private sector in regard to housing as a means of improving diaspora relations and strengthening the domestic economy?
They want me to write a book. The first thing that you do is get good advice. So many people, and it's not just our diaspora, any diaspora that's overseas, and whether it's in the Middle East or Latin America, and you have been out of your country for a long time, rules change, laws change, people's behavior change. And the one that you remember, it's like you go to school or college with a friend, and you haven't seen them for 15, 20 years, and the memory you have is what you had at college. Most times it's not adjusted. But they've changed, they've married, they have kids, they've gotten fatter or slimmer, as the case may be, and you're still in that place. Please, the first thing you do is get advice. I'd advise you that the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, with our 20 agencies, JAMPRA especially right up front, Jamaica Business Development Corporations, and other ones that are there that they're there to help you. But if you don't want to do that, call a law firm. This is, you're getting into a legal issue with land and so on. Please don't go down there or send your money and believe that, you know, they're just only angels. We have a few angels in Jamaica. They're not all angels. Okay. So please get advice. No. It so happens that the real estate business in Jamaica is doing very well. People are and you know, I am unabashedly straightforward. So let me tell you this. In the past 5, 6, 7 years, we have built a whole bunch of infrastructure. Road is gone around St. Thomas. We've had a little bit of difficulty with the contracts and so on, but the Prime Minister got in there and straightening it out, getting to Portland. The North Coast roads are there. The roads from Maypen, where the highway ended, has now been extended to Manchester. Manchester is 45 minutes away from Kingston, sometimes easier than coming from Red Hills. People are going to be living there. Okay? People are going to find it easy to build their house and work in Kingston. So the country is opening up. Local investors are building a lot. I'm not going to name the names because then it'd be partial, but a lot of local investors, local money putting in. It's time to get yours in if you're interested. A lot of, frankly, Airbnb people are involved in getting it. Jamaica is a nice place to go to. It's close to the United States. It's not far like Asia. You can easily come back home. So it's a place where investors are looking to get into. So the diaspora, get your cash right, get advice. Remember, this minister tell you so. I run the biggest bank in Jamaica. Please understand me. Get your paperwork in work. Asha will help you before you even leave the United States. She'll give you advice. So do that. Put your money in. Do it wisely. It's a time to do it, I believe. I'm not an investment advisor. I am giving that putting that caveat in there. But as an economic part of an economic policy making body in the cabinet, I'm saying it is my firm professional belief that this is a good time to be in Jamaica after everything else I've told you. So that's the first thing you do. Get good advice, and put the money in Jamaica. It's not a better country right now.
Thank you. And just to say, on cybersecurity, I actually only said the word. I don't know if you were listening, but I didn't actually address the question. Yes, he mentioned it as well. But the truth is, we were asked a very specific question, and I know why. We were asked a question, what is Jamaica doing about its cybersecurity infrastructure? And I know that it has been asked in the context that there has been a worldwide reported increase in cybersecurity attacks on public and private sector agencies across the world. It's been something like a 20% increase. So I know it was asked for a specific reason and for a more specific response. So I want to share it because it's not only people here, but the people online and people who ask the questions. And we ask them because we value what interests you. And I did take the time because I hadn't had an update to call the head of the Jamaica Cyber Incident Response Team. That is the body that is in charge of ensuring the government's cybersecurity. And in fact, what they have done is they have now expanded their responsibility from being a response team to being now a monitoring and evaluation team. So they are constantly assessing the cybersecurity architecture, the space, and identifying where weaknesses exist and hardening them. The government has not been sitting and waiting for this 20% increase in attacks to take place. We actually started investing as part of Plan Secure Jamaica in cybersecurity. So it's one of the 6 pillars. And a 50 million US dollar investment was made in technology and architecture over the past few years. So we have partnerships with the Americas CERTs, that is American Cyber Incident Response Teams, which incorporates 23 cyber incident teams and 200 plus, I think it's 231 dedicated cybersecurity professionals across the space with whom we engage. We also engage with the Commonwealth cybersecurity CERTs teams, and that gives another 32 countries. Yes, the Commonwealth is 54, but this is 32 cyber incident response teams with whom we also engage. So when there's an attack, we don't just respond from a Jamaica space. We have partnerships that are all assessing the space, that are all monitoring, that are all working with new technology and equipment to ensure that we're not only able to identify and to protect, but to respond. So I wanted to say this is not something on which we're sitting quietly waiting for something to happen. We have an active investment as a government in this, and we've been, and it is action that is constantly taking place. Just today, there was a new program launched because they have determined to set up a new cybersecurity authority. And today, an IDB and USAID program, together with the GOJ, has been launched to secure a consultant. Well, actually, consultant is secured to draft and research on the new legislation that will be needed to establish the authority, as well as the resourcing for it. So there's a specific program that is started today to build out another level. But right now, there's a robust international partnership, as well as an existing architecture to protect our cyberspace. So I please tell people, because it's important that you know that this work is being done. And it's a retired JDF colonel who is in charge of the authority, extremely knowledgeable, and the team is extremely knowledgeable. They work with MOCA, they work with the JDF, and they work with the JCF. And this is how we are keeping Jamaica safe. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister. I saw Ben and Gordon here before. They're still here? No, they left. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, may I just ask you, please, especially our small business owners. I see Tracy here. Tracy, Minister Hill and Minister Johnson Smith. Tracy imports breadfruit, avocado, yam, ackee, yes, from Jamaica. And then she packaged, and then she dropped my packages off too at my house. June plums. May I just ask you though, when your business is in the embryonic stage and as you're moving forward, to remember to give your business to our Jamaican business owners here. Like, for example, Asha owns a CPA firm, right? So your business taxes, Asha can perform your business taxes. Mr. Gopal, where's Gopal? The best attorney in Jamaica from St. Thomas. He has a law firm, right? And right, and so he does all kinds of capital market structure, all kinds of capital market deals, and so forth. And again, Yolanda with her makeup line and so forth. Yolanda is from Clarendon, right? So please remember to support Jamaican business. Very important. Our juice, Shanice, stand up, Shanique. She does all the homemade juices and so forth here. And she drops mine off. I said, I want to place an order because I'm on a juice diet. Okay, CG. So please just remember to support your Jamaican businesses in New York. Thank you.
Thank you, CG. And with that, the formal part of this evening's presentation is coming to a close. I'm now going to invite you to partake of the refreshments that have been so prepared for you. We don't want any left here this evening. So please do enjoy Miss Palmer's rum punch. And for those of you who can't have rum punch, there's juice as well, fruit punch. We call it fruit punch. But do enjoy the rest of the evening. But also make sure that you know somebody who you didn't know before you came here this evening. It's part of the networking because you never know, you might leave here with your next business partner, your next Jamaican connection, and the next person who's going to move your business forward. So, again, thank you all for coming. I know it's still wet outside, and you took the time to join us this evening, and we are very grateful for you being here. And thank you, Minister. Thank you, Minister. It was, I'm sure the answers to the questions were well received. And I think only one question wasn't asked, but with time, we'll probably send the response by email because I have all their contacts, so I can send it back. All right. So thank you again, and do have a good rest of evening.